Hey everybody,
Hello.
and welcome to our new episode. And today we're going to be talking about why you should move to Puerto Vallarta, or maybe consider, and we're going to get into the reasons why we chose it. Right? I think that's a little bit, sometimes when people consider moving to Mexico and moving to a beach area, they consider where to move. And Puerto Vallarta tends to be on the top of that list, right? So for those who don't remember, I'm Roddy.
I'm Landy.
And we talk about our life here in Mexico after we moved from United States and Texas. And we talk about all the good stuff, the bad stuff, and everything in between and here in Mexico. So with that being said, let's jump in and we'll talk about why we chose Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, today's topic, we have two parts. Number one is why we chose Puerto Vallarta. Number two is why we didn't pick other beach towns in Mexico.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's go with our reasons why we chose Puerto Vallarta, and again, why people may consider it themselves. Something that I actually didn't really know until I saw it advertised all over the place here in the city was safety, right? I know when people think of Mexico sometimes and beach towns, they may not think they're that safe. But it's actually considered the second safest city in Mexico, which again, I had no idea until we saw the signs everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's kind of true. I mean, really, there's really been no feeling, at least our very short amount of time that we've been here. I've never felt unsafe. Everything seems pretty organized. There is definitely a high police presence. So you do feel that sense of safety.
Right.
Which is kind of nice. Kind of like after coming from Queretaro and stuff, where it's also very safe.
Yeah, Queretaro.
It is a very nice to have that same feeling of safety here. Now, the second reason kind of goes back to why we left Mexico City, right, which is the pollution or lack of pollution and the air quality here. After leaving Mexico City, and it was so polluted and it had effects on our son.
Yeah.
Moving to a tropical town, it's quite the opposite, right? The air is very fresh and clean all the time. So there is definitely a lack of pollution, which makes just your daily living a lot nicer. You can actually breathe the air.
Yeah, you can exercise, walk along the beach, swim, let kids run around. You don't need to worry about the air so much. And my son does cough much less once we move here.
Yeah, almost immediately. You could notice his cough went away. He's had issues, but way less. And what's next?
The next one is the charm of the city. That's why we picked Puerto Vallarta. It's just so pretty. Besides the beaches, everybody know, the palm trees, the beautiful tropical sunsets, and the beautiful Malecón, the night scene. Literally every day there's fireworks from the pirate boat show, 8:40, 8:45. The beauty of the city, the architectures, you see the Spanish roofs and the white buildings combined with some old architecture, old buildings, and the cobblestones. Not really good for driving, I don't like it, but really pretty to look at it. And the people here, and to talk about the nature here. It's not just the beautiful beaches in the Puerto Vallarta and the surroundings, and also the nature of the hiking, waterfall, and so many more. We haven't experienced everything yet.
Right. You have the whole idea. You have the whole concept, or blending of the ocean and the mountains, right, which is very nice. You get the best of both worlds. We've been to the beaches obviously quite a bit. The other day we went up into the mountains for the first time and did a hike. So again, you have those lush tropical jungles with the beaches. It's a great blending of two natural areas. So it's very, very beautiful as far as the natural or the nature aspect of the city. Of course, and everything she mentioned about the city itself.
And the city is just so green.
Right. And actually, that's actually something that you just brought up that we didn't even think about. Just the people here are very friendly.
Yeah, I think that's just the tropical weather, beautiful weather, the whole energy make everyone just happy. The bus driver just put on music, so chill, they chat. People, the ladies making tacos, they just sing. I went to hairdresser the other day, the ladies there, the men, they just put on music and they started dancing. That's just the whole vibe. The vibes influence to each other. Make me feel happy. Even maybe someday I'm pretty low, but I see people are happy. They're selling things, they're smiling, they're chatting, they have a drink. They drink beer on the streets. It's allowed here. And it's just, just normal people's life. That's how it is every day. Daily vibes, just so much energy.
And of course, with the local people being friendly and nice, then of course, everybody who's here on vacation.
Yeah, sure.
Who has a bad time when they're on vacation, especially in an area like this? So yeah, you get the tourists, you get the locals, everyone kind of in a happy mood, and it kind of reflects on you and it kind of rubs off on you. So yeah, it's been really enjoyable. We just had little small conversations and chit chat with people on the street.
People like to talk to you.
It's still a small town, right? Overall, not like Mexico City, Queretaro. They're over, Queretaro 1 million plus. Mexico City is its own monster. Here, it's a small town still, so you still kind of get that feel.
Yeah. That's the feeling. We have been living here for 3 years. I never had this feeling in Querétaro, in Mexico City, when we travel in other towns. But Puerto Vallarta is the place. You just feel the energy there. People are super, super friendly.
Oh yeah, true. And that's great. Again, that was another idea that just popped up, right? Something else is, the weather. Now, again, this is kind of there's the pro and the con of the weather. Right now, we're still, I think, in the pros. Which is actually during the winter season, or what they call the high season. The weather is very nice here. Even today we are in the middle of April, right? The end of April, and we still haven't turned on the AC. Right? We just have the windows open and fans, and it's still very cool.
Yeah, right? And at night when I sleep, I even close the window.
No,
it's the cold air come in the morning. I feel a little bit chilly. Of course, I turn off the fan. That's for me. But I mean, just for most ladies, if you not feel hot all the time, you don't need the AC on. Even you don't need a fan sometimes.
Right. Yeah. And I think the high season starts around maybe November, December is kind of when the high season starts up until now. So you have about 5-6 months of very nice weather. I know we've only been here about a month and a half, but when we first arrived, I was surprised how nice the weather was. I was like, wow, this is actually very cool.
Yeah.
The middle of the day is very mild.
I was not even sweaty when we just moved here.
Yeah. I think we can feel the change coming. It's getting a little bit more hot during the day, a little bit more sticky. And so we do know the hot months are coming. But I think the one thing that, at least for me and Landy, I know Louie's not used to it yet, is that, we do come from hot weather, sticky environments. I know one of the comments we do get a lot about is, oh, just wait till the summer. It's going to be so hot, humid, and sticky. Well, as I mentioned, it's all about perspective. We come from hotter, more sticky areas.
Yeah, you know what? It's in the end, just turn the AC.
Yeah,
okay,
and the AC
that's how. Yeah, in the morning and the evening, you go take a walk, and during the day, you stay inside, turn the AC. You go out, you got to sweat, you go come back for a shower.
Yeah,
okay,
easy.
That's how you do it. But it's not. I still feel I prefer tropical weather places instead of cold, shitty weather in the morning, Mexico City, and even cold in Querétaro in the mornings, evenings.
Yeah,
just the horse.
I know people,
for the moment.
Yeah, people say, it gets about like 93 in the summer, 94. I was like, 93, 94, that's nothing. I was like, I'm dealing with back home 100 plus degrees for all summer. It's like I can deal with 93 all day, no problem. Now, another thing is just kind of its location, right? And I'm assuming we're talking about to get away.
Yeah. And for location, I want to say there are two parts. For domestic location wise, you can easily take the highway, the new highway from the highway before, but the new part is just opened to Guadalajara, which is the second biggest city in Mexico. So it makes the whole travel time reduced to 2.5 hours, which is much easier if we miss some big city feeling. Of course, driving. Besides all the flights, it's easy to fly away. And also the international flight. If you fly back to the US or Canada, there's so many direct international flights. I thought you just booked one, right, to Austin?
Yeah.
There we go.
And so again, because it is such a big destination, especially from people in the US and Canada, you can easily get back to a lot of places very quickly. So it makes it very nice. And then going back to the new road, it is a toll road, if I'm not mistaken.
So that's I heard, I haven't paid the what's called tollway fees yet. I heard it's about 1,500 pesos.
Just to be aware.
But also you take the bus if you don't drive. You just reduce your travel time.
And I think it literally cuts it in half. I think before the toll road, it was about 5 to 6 hours. And it could be worse depending on how the traffic is in the mountain road because it is only just 2 lanes,
True.
So if something happens, you get behind a bus or an accident, forget it.
So that was good.
Yeah, it definitely does gonna help and make it a lot easier to get to other destinations.
The next one we want to talk about food. We love food.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Jalisco, in itself, the state is one of the most probably popular areas, maybe next to Oaxaca, when it comes to food and types of food and the deliciousness of all the food here. And like I said, there's not a meal we haven't really enjoyed In Puerto Vallarta, yes, maybe one or two, but I think as much as we've eaten out, it's all been more enjoyable than not.
Yeah.
There's just
I haven't think about one like, oh, I really hate that restaurant. I don't want to go back.
Never want to go back. Everything from, of course, the great seafood. Being by the coast, there's so many great little seafood restaurants. Some that we haven't gone to, and we're gonna enjoy.
The fish tacos.
The tacos
at a reasonable price, cheaper than Mexico City.
Yeah, of course, right?
For 50 peso, you get a huge fish taco with fried fish fillet in between. In Mexico City, it's easily 60 peso.
For a small taco.
For a small one, right. That's something not even comparable.
Right. And then on top of all the great seafood here, then you get all the things from international. And which actually Puerto Vallarta does have a pretty good international cuisine, right? So if you still crave the international flavors, whether it's Italian or Greek, I think, of course, and other.
Yeah, Indian, Vietnamese. So Chinese. I haven't found the authentic Chinese food
not yet. It's all here, which is really great. And then of course you get the things from like Jalisco, the birria tacos and soup and stuff that we have.
Birria,
right?
Yes.
which is really, really good, and all the other good food from here. So if you're into food and you're a foodie, definitely Puerto Vallarta and Jalisco are definitely a state and city you need to check out.
I talk about food, all the beautiful restaurants along the beach and by the romantic zone, that Muerto Beach area at night. Oh my gosh, it's just so pretty.
Yeah.
I took a photo, sent to my friend. She said, "Are you in Thailand?" Yeah, like in Thailand, some beach, a lot of restaurants and the seats right on the sand.
Right, and they have the pretty lights.
With lights and the fire, it's just gorgeous.
Right.
And not overwhelming. Not everyone try to sell you food all the time. I mean, it's a charm.
It's very charming, definitely so.
Yeah.
Now, next on our list, we have language. And I think you can speak a little bit more to this. What do you mean by the language?
Language. I mean, I'm still learning Spanish. I'm not expecting everyone speak English to me, but I feel it's a good step in. You're still practicing Spanish daily. But for some situation, if there are more people speak English, the locals, of course, most of the salespeople in the tourism, you feel a little bit comfortable, more communication, especially for my level. I believe a lot of you guys, maybe you're learning, but not that communication level yet.
Right.
So it's an easy step in. Order food in the restaurant, ask questions. And people here, they learn English a lot.
Yeah.
You can see so many language schools around us. They're teaching English because most people want to work in tourism.
Right.
So that's the language part.
Right. So it's actually great. So again, if you're learning, and don't feel comfortable, Puerto Vallarta could be, like you said, a good stepping in. Right, excellent. Next, something. This kind of seems like to go more to you. Something that I told you about, right? And you kind of looked more into it. Is something that is called the ley lines, right? Which are I know you've done a little bit more research on it lately. What are the ley lines and how does it affect?
Ley line, in the short explanation, it's an energy zone. On the whole globe, there are so many energy-focused area by order. What's the word? Coordinates?
The coordinates?
Yeah.
The coordinates, right.
Okay. So that's all the lines combined. So from my research, there are 12 ley lines here in Puerto Vallarta. Another good spot in Mexico on the internet they mentioned is Tulum. So Puerto Vallarta is a spot with good energy, good vibes. People keep coming back here for a reason. You don't even know why. Like why I keep coming back.
Yeah.
We've been travel around Mexico, different beaches, but Puerto Vallarta, we've been already four times.
Three, right? And this is our fourth, right?
Yeah, I think before was 3. The 4th time we come back to look for apartments, home, and
I would definitely say that was the number one place we went to the most. Everywhere else we'd go like once, check it out, just to kind of do the vacation touristy thing.
Yeah.
Here it always seemed we'd come back, right? And like she said, why? It was just some unknown reason. And so again, if you're into that kind of thing and believe
you can look into that. Right. And that's how also here you find so many groups: meditation, sound healing, yoga, the self-healing. It's a spot. It's a happy zone.
Right.
Ley line area also make all the plants grow better, so people feel happier. Just the influence on your mood a lot. I think I need it. So after living different places, of course, some life stress, this is a healing spot. Really can make your vibes, the daily feeling and energy, you just flow there. You just don't even know why. That's
Right.
how it is.
Yeah.
The whole energy thing.
Yeah, and again, whether you believe in that, those kind of issues or not, there's definitely something to the idea. Like I said, why is everything so nice here, and everyone's so friendly, and everything just feels so relaxed and laid back, even as compared to other beaches? Because some people might say, well, oh, it's a tropical beach area. Of course, you're going to be, but for some reason, this one just feels a little bit more special.
And we heard so many stories
about
like
that, right?
People left, come back. They just keep coming back, or they find it as home, stay here for long term.
Mm-hmm.
A few ladies we met, they stay here from the US, stay here for like 30, 40 years.
Oh, yeah. I think our
One
neighbors.
is from Canada.
Right.
Right?
Our neighbor has been here since the 60s.
Yeah.
Crazy. So ley lines, definitely something interesting. And again, is there something to it? Who knows? But there definitely is a special energy here in Puerto Vallarta. Now, one last thing, and this is something that we've heard online. We haven't totally experienced it ourselves yet, but supposedly the schools and the medical care here are, again, top notch. So for us, we have to consider Louie. We just have him into a daycare, but he is approaching, the primary school time, I think, next year. So like a lot of Mexican towns, especially more popular ones, they do have a very good international school program here as far as lots of choices.
Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely something we need to look into very soon and can get more into and bring you maybe some future information once we hit that time. But we know for sure lots of international schools, lots of choices, which is great for anybody who has young ones and may be considering a move to Mexico. You have to consider the education.
Yeah, and then there are so many international kids here. We checked a few daycares here. We always heard the teacher told us, we have kids from Canada, from Germany. They are here. There are always a few kids here there for a reason.
Right.
It's a good school area in some parts of the city.
Right. And then, of course, then the medical care. And again, this is we're just basing this on what we've heard. But again, healthcare here is supposed to be top notch. And I think a lot of that has to do because it is a high tourist area.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the people who do come to live here for either short or long periods of time tend to be, older, maybe senior citizens. So again, they do require a little bit better healthcare or more healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I think most Americans and Canadians expect a higher medical care. And so that is definitely given to them here. There are some great hospitals, great medical care. Again, as we find things out ourselves, we can bring you and tell you firsthand information once we kind of experience it ourselves.
And what I heard is because Puerto Vallarta is the first tourist town, like the top one tourist area in Mexico, it's also one of the oldest city, bringing most expats, foreigners, whatever you call. And so that's the place originally have the best medical care. Because it's one part of it.
It's been established for so long.
Right, established for so long. So many retirees here, they need it. It's a part of their whole package.
Right. So this is our list of reasons why we chose to move here. Again, I don't know if there's anything out there, people who lived here, who have been here, maybe who want to add something or don't agree, let us know. Right?
And we jump to the part 2.
Right. Why not other areas, right? Again, we have gotten questions about that. Why Puerto Vallarta? Why not XYZ, right? So getting into that, we
just do a brief compare. It's not a deeply comparison video, but we just talk a little bit, like the most popular beach towns.
Right. Like I said, I think we can start with like the Maya Riviera, which includes Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, right? Pretty much the whole Yucatan.
Yeah.
And why we didn't choose that area. So why don't we choose that area?
A good question, because we haven't really go there to explore everything over there yet.
Right.
Doesn't mean we don't like it.
Right.
We may like it, but I think the one thing stopped us thinking about that area for now is all the seaweeds.
Yeah. They do have the high season of seaweed, which is in the summer, which is now, which takes a little bit away from the beauty of the area. Again, this is things we've heard and seen online, nothing we've experienced ourselves. We have been to Cancun a couple of times, but it's been years. I think another thing that we talked about too was because we own our own car and we do like to travel and get away, the Yucatan is so far removed from the rest of Mexico, right?
True.
Just to get out of the Yucatan takes almost maybe a day from what I've heard, and that's to kind of get to Veracruz and that area. But again, if you want to get into any bigger, nicer areas, it's a long drive if you want to take a road trip. As compared to here, like you mentioned, Guadalajara is just a couple hours away. Mazatlan is not too far. Again, even Mexico City is just, they pretty much one long day, or we like to break it up into 2 days. So nothing is too far away if we want to drive, right? Of course, flying is a different thing, right? So I think that was another thing we took into consideration. It's just
I think another reason is I feel over there it's more tourists.
Yeah, more touristy.
Puerto Vallarta Common, it's very touristy over there. And plus, I think the winter, it's not as cooler as the west side.
And I think that the heat and humidity is a little bit higher over there.
Over there in the winter months, it's still hotter.
Right, and the summers are brutal from what we've heard and remember.
Yeah.
So that's why we didn't kind of choose that area. And now the next one would be, where there is actually nice weather. Cabo, right? And
Cabos.
Right. We have traveled to Cabo years ago as well. I think one of the things that always stuck in our mind was how nice the weather was, even in the summer. Because I know it was in the summer.
Yeah, I know they have a brutal weather month is September or October, somewhere there. They said it's getting very, very cranky. The weather getting cranky. People leave. But most of the year, the weather is pretty over there in Cabos.
Right. I think what it kind of reminded me of was, because it is kind of deserty as compared to here, it's more tropical, it's more desert-like. It kind of reminded me of Queretaro in the sense that even when it was hot in the day, if you just got into the shade of a building or a tree, it dropped the weather instantly, like maybe 5-10 degrees, depending on what system you're using, Fahrenheit or Celsius. But if you'd be in the sun, oh my God, it's brutal. Just walk to the shade and it's so nice. So the weather there is definitely very nice. It is definitely probably one of the nicer weather beach areas year round.
Right. But I think we didn't choose it. Number one reason is the cost of living. I heard so many stories about expats or foreigners move away from Cabos due to the raise of the price of all the rents. Cabos in real estate are more expensive.
Right.
And I feel maybe lacking of things to do there. That's just the one highway, the energy way or whatever called. In the middle. Right. Then they have the Cabo San Jose, which is a small town, and the Los Cabos are the Cabos. What's the name? I forgot. Just the main Cabo San Lucas. So Cabo San Lucas are very touristy.
Right.
Also not that much things to do. We've been there. It's a town, kind of touristy town.
Right. It was built around tourism.
Yeah.
Kind of like Cancun. They were kind of built specifically for tourism, and then they kind of developed from there. As compared to Puerto Vallarta, it was just been a town for a long time.
Yeah, maybe we didn't dig into that. I know there are some areas they're more local, so we didn't really drive around so much. Yeah. I think another reason is...
I think just going on the cost of living as well, I think not only the real estate, but I think even just food in general, right? Because like you mentioned, there is only one highway in and out. Again, it is a desert area, so they don't kind of really produce their own food, as compared to here in Jalisco, where they do produce a lot of food. And even the food and the groceries tends to be a lot lower. I think there it can tend to be a little bit higher. And another thing I've heard was, if they are prone to hurricanes at time, there is only one highway in and out. Right. So if storms come and they wipe out that highway, it could shut down delivery, for days or weeks, depending on how severe it tore up the highway. And I think it's the same thing with gas. I think gas is brought in by boat, which comes across from the Sea of Cortez. And so again, any storms, things like that could halt gas if it's severe enough. So those are things you may have to consider. May not happen all the time, but you never know when it might happen.
Yeah, and also in Cabos, I found most beaches, not our beach, most beaches are not very swimmable.
Right, you have to find them.
You really need to find your area to take kids to swim. So that also can limit the area we're gonna stay.
Right.
But we want to live close to the beach where we can take kids to swim.
Right. And so going on that, the next place where we talk about, I think, was maybe a pretty close choice when we decided to move, which was Mazatlan.
Right. Mazatlan.
And maybe that's because it was so fresh on our mind. We'd only been there very recently. We stayed there a month. There's a lot of great things about Mazatlan I think we enjoyed. Right. Again, very nice. The weather was great. Lots of things to do. The downtown was beautiful. The old little historic part that they've been restoring for years, and it's just a very nice area to hang out. But again, I think at the end of the day, it's just not Puerto Vallarta, right?
I feel it's just lacking of some charm, and I feel the city is too old for us. Just the people we met, their majority age group are much older. Like every time I mentioned it before, we step into many, like literally all good restaurants. Besides the locals go, other restaurants, just step into that. Majority are older people. I feel I walk to a retiree home, from our age. For our age,
we're not there yet.
Yeah, it's a little bit too old feeling to me, and just even in the historical central, majority are elder retirees. We went to the seafood restaurant. There are a bunch of older grandpas sitting around, sipping beer.
And you definitely see them here as well. But like you mentioned, it's just not as many. There is more of a mix, especially because there is so much more of that in and out tourism. Like it's here, there's constantly cruise boats coming in and out. So you get that little rush of young families that come in and stuff, and you see a lot more.
Yeah, Mazatlan also has cruise,
but not as much as here.
No, not much.
Right? It's definitely not the as big a destination as here.
Yeah.
So there is definitely that feeling, and of course, like you said, locals, just like any other town, it's a mix. But you definitely do get, especially in the high season, you see the snowbirds everywhere.
Yeah. Right? Another thing is Puerto Vallarta has so many pretty fish towns around, different beaches, and Mazatlan is pretty isolated.
Right. There are a few, but again, definitely not as much. And it is a little bit more deserty.
Yeah.
You definitely don't get the tropical lush mountains in the background. So again, we did really enjoy Mazatlan. I think it was a close second when we were trying to decide where to stay. But again, we did choose Puerto Vallarta in the end. The last places that we're going to talk about, are going to be in the Oaxacan coast, which is Huatulco and Puerto Escondido and the few little areas in between. Now, I think the number one reason that we didn't move there is because we've never been to that area.
Yeah, we never really checked it out. But from I know, Huatulco is also for elder retirees. It's a very chill town. Over 30 different bays and beaches. So each beach is pretty small. I just feel lacking of things to do.
Right.
I think for our age, maybe we need a city like Puerto Vallarta or Mazatlan, a little bit bigger scale,
Right.
Just more things to explore and do. I feel Huatulco is kind of too chill for us.
It's still developing.
Maybe, yeah.
It's still in the developing side of its, of its boom, right? It is also like an economic zone where they're trying to push tourism, but it's at the beginning. So there are still pretty small towns, even like Puerto Escondido, which I think is even a little bit more.
Yeah, it's more like a lot of dirt road, a lot of backpackers.
Right.
Kind of more hippie style.
I think they lack the infrastructure as well.
Right.
I hear things like internet is kind of spotty, and that's something that we do need. Again, like she mentioned, a lot of dirt roads in those areas, like in Puerto Escondido. So again, I think it's because it's developing, there still is a lack of infrastructure. And things to do.
But even the highway just opened from Puerto Escondido to Oaxaca. So we reduced the travel time to less than 3 hours.
Right.
But still, I feel for the moment, maybe for these two popular beach towns are good for short-term stay.
Yeah.
We talked to one of our neighbors. I've been there, Puerto Escondido. So what do you think for long-term? Nah, maybe for short-term. So that's how I got the feeling, just more for short-term or more for retirees.
Right. So again, we've never been there, so it's kind of hard to judge a place we've never been to.
Yeah, we're not saying it's not pretty. I know they are. We would like to go there
it's definitely on our list. It's been on our list for a while. We just never go.
Right.
Any last ones you want to throw in there?
I think that's pretty much all. Maybe the last one would be we talk about. We forgot to say La Paz.
I think that kind of goes in with Cabo and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all on the same peninsula.
Similar,
I think it's a lot of the same issues. And then of course I think there's like Merida and Progreso. Which I know Merida is like the safest town in Mexico, right? Even one of the safest towns in all of North America.
Maybe just too hot.
That's where I heard like it gets hot, like back in Texas hot and Shanghai hot, like 40 degrees, 100 plus degrees in the summer.
I don't know how I take care of dealing with that.
And then you're not right on the beach. Oh yeah, and then you're right. The heat is much longer there. Right. And you're not right on the beach. Again, you have to go to Progreso. And then Progreso itself is a very small town itself, right? And it's more on the Gulf, so you don't get that as pretty water. I'm sure the water is very nice there. Again, we haven't been there.
But not as pretty as water here.
Right.
Here,
or even the Yucatan or here, right? It's very beautiful. So again, we really can't speak too much on those except little things we've heard. But that's pretty much our list of why we didn't go to other beach towns. Again,
it's our own opinion.
Yes.
You can debate with us. No, it's so great.
How dare you?
No, it's more pretty. The debate can go nowhere. It's our personal choice.
Right.
Why we choose this shoes, not that shoes.
Right. And again, what's right for us may not be right for everyone. But of course, we love to hear your opinions. Let us know. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
you.